He had everything money could buy, but not what mattered most. He lived surrounded by luxury, yet felt an emptiness no wealth could ever fill. So he decided to do the unthinkable, step away from the image of a millionaire and dress as a poor man, in search of true love. What he never imagined was that a humble cleaning woman, whose life had been marked by pain and struggle, would change his destiny forever. Noah Adams stared at his reflection in the mirror of his enormous closet. Rows of tailored suits stood like silent soldiers around his tired body. The stillness of that mansion weighed heavier than any fortune. He had everything money could buy, but his empty heart was crying out. It was as if each new success only widened the void inside him, pushing him toward an unexpected decision. The nights grew too long, filled with wine glasses and the fake smiles of women who never really saw him. Always the same hungry looks, always the same interest disguised as fleeting affection. Noah became more aware each day of the golden prison he lived in. Loneliness wasn't about the absence of people, it was about the absence of love. That weight was suffocating him. As he walked down the cold hallways of his home, he felt the icy walls reflecting his own life. Luxury without warmth, shine without soul. What was the point of a life built on appearances? His heart could no longer bear the masks. He knew he needed something real, or he would lose what little was left of himself. The decision grew quietly inside him, like a flame that refused to die out. The idea sounded absurd, even to him. To dress like a man who had nothing, to step onto the ground he had avoided for years, to give up the suits, the cars, the privileges just to touch the truth. If true love existed, it would be found where the masks fell away, and Noah was ready to risk his very identity. Still, the fear of being rejected for who he really was lingered in his mind. That night, under a starless sky, he made his choice. He broke the silence with a radical gesture. He would hide his name, his fortune, and his status. He would become invisible, so he could finally be seen for real. Noah felt his life was about to change forever, though he had no idea how far this disguise would take him, or who would dare to look past the torn clothes. He traded his suits for worn-out clothes, the smell of mildew clinging to his skin. The expensive watch was left forgotten in the drawer. Now, standing outside his own corporate building, he looked like just another face lost in the gray concrete. The cold wind cut through the thin fabric, reminding him that no amount of luxury could shield him there. For the first time, he felt the street the way so many felt it every single day. People walked past in a hurry, their eyes sliding away as if he were invisible. Others frowned, as though his presence were an inconvenience. Noah knew these same people used to flatter him when he wore a suit. Now, all they saw was dirt, suspicion, body unworthy of attention. The indifference cut deeper than any insult. A group of young people laughed as they walked by, pointing at him as if he were some kind of caricature. Noah swallowed the pain in silence, but each burst of laughter echoed like a cruel reminder of hypocrisy. It wasn't just him suffering in that moment, it was thousands of strangers who endured the same scorn every single day. Shame washed over him for taking so long to see it. The loneliness of the sidewalks became a brutal mirror. There, stripped of titles and wealth, Noah began to see how the world treated those who had nothing. The smell of gasoline, the honking of horns, and the rush of hurried footsteps blended with the bitter sting of rejection. The pain didn't come from hunger or cold, but from the certainty that to everyone else, he was just another nobody. And yet, in the middle of the city's chaos, Noah felt something stir inside him, a need to prove that kindness still existed, that love wasn't dead. But as night fell and his heart grew heavier, he wondered if anyone would ever dare to look past the surface. The answer was about to appear in the most unexpected way. The cold morning brought with it soft footsteps that stood out from the city's rush. Chloe Rivera, dressed in her simple cleaning uniform and with hands marked by years of work, stopped in front of Noah. Her eyes held no judgment, only quiet concern. While everyone else looked away, she leaned closer, seeing humanity where others saw only ruin. Without a second thought, Chloe pulled a few coins from her tight pocket. They weren't much, but they carried more worth than any fortune. She held them out to Noah with a timid gesture, as if afraid of offending him, but wanting to help. Her heart raced not from fear, but from compassion she couldn't hide. Noah, stunned, could hardly find the words to thank her. She also carried a small bag with a piece of bread wrapped in paper. Without hesitation, she shared it with him, as if offering part of what she herself would miss. The simplicity of that act broke through the invisible walls Noah had built for years. That piece of bread, more than food, seemed to restore a breath of dignity. For the first time in a long while, Noah's eyes filled with genuine emotion. No words were spoken, but between them grew a silent bond, woven from pure kindness. He realized this encounter was no accident. Something greater was at play, something that made him forget, even for a moment, the weight of his disguise. Chloe gave him a gentle smile, unaware of the impact she was leaving behind. For her, helping was second nature, an instinct. But for Noah, every gesture echoed inside him like a calling. For the first time in years, he felt someone saw him for more than appearances, and it left him restless, as if a new chapter was about to unfold. The days that followed brought unexpected meetings. Chloe always passed the same spot, and each time she saw Noah there, she stopped for a moment. Sometimes she brought a simple snack, other times just a few words of encouragement. Small gestures, but for him, they carried immeasurable weight. The emptiness that once suffocated him slowly began to be filled with something new. Noah, once used to cold contracts and lavish dinners, was now discovering the strength hidden in a simple cup of coffee shared in silence. Every shy smile from Chloe seemed to light up a corner of the darkness surrounding him. He found himself waiting eagerly for the next day, longing to see her again, as if her presence had become an anchor in the middle of his inner chaos. One afternoon, Chloe sat beside him and shared small stories from her job, laughing at the funny situations she faced as a cleaner. Noah listened quietly, captivated by the way she turned exhaustion into hope. Her lightness stood in stark contrast to the heavy weight of his life, making him realize there was still beauty in simply existing. More than food or company, Chloe offered advice. She spoke of faith, of never giving up, of how she had already overcome moments that once seemed impossible. Noah absorbed every word, like someone drinking water after crossing a desert. Inside him, something was shifting. Wealth no longer held meaning compared to the richness he saw in her simplicity. And in that cycle of meetings, glances, and small conversations, Noah realized he was feeling something he hadn't felt in a very long time. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something deeper, something that grew quietly, without hurry, but stronger each day. Yet he feared what would happen once the truth came to light. When her shift ended, Chloe left behind the shining hallways of the hotel and returned to a small apartment with peeling walls. The smell of simple soup filled the air, and there was her mother, Rosa, sitting in a rocking chair, fighting against an illness that drained her strength day by day. The home held no luxury, but it carried a warmth no mansion could ever buy. Chloe stretched her modest earnings between medicine and the needs of her son, Jaden, a curious-eyed boy who still dreamed big despite their struggles. He ran to the door to hug her, always holding a messy drawing in his hand, but one filled with love. In that embrace, Chloe found the strength to face yet another day of battle. That night, as she placed the soup on the table, Chloe told her mother about the mysterious man she often saw on the streets. She never spoke of wealth or appearance, only of his lost look, and the way he seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. Rosa listened in silence, but she saw in her daughter something rare, a flame, the gift of offering tenderness even when life had taken so much away. While Jaden played on the floor, Chloe wondered why that stranger touched her so deeply. He was just a man living on the streets, and yet, something about him stirred her to care. Perhaps it was because she knew too well what it meant to be overlooked by the world. Or perhaps, deep down, Her heart still believed in stories of redemption. But Chloe had no idea how far this connection would take her. She didn't know that man was hiding a secret powerful enough to turn her life upside down. Still, each time she thought of him, her heart raced, as if it already sensed something was about to happen. Noah could no longer sleep in peace. He spent his nights in front of the computer, quietly searching for information about Chloe. He found records of her life marked by hardship, the simple jobs that kept her household afloat, the silent battles to care for her mother and raise her son. With every line he read, his admiration grew, but so did the weight of guilt. Little by little, he realized it was no longer just gratitude for the bread and coffee she had given him. What he felt for Chloe was growing beyond his control. The memory of her smile followed him through the day, and the sound of her gentle voice seemed to echo even when they were apart. It was a pure feeling, yet stained by the lie he carried. The disguise that once felt like a daring experiment was now becoming a prison. Noah longed to tear off those worn-out clothes and show who he truly was, but he feared losing the only genuine bond he had ever found. With every encounter, the duality grew stronger, the joy of being near her, and the torment of hiding his identity. He wondered if he would ever have the courage to reveal everything. The fear of rejection burned inside him, but the fear of continuing the lie was even greater. Chloe deserved the truth, yet Noah still had no idea how to give it to her without breaking her heart. The line between unexpected love and betrayal was becoming unbearably thin. Noah walked the streets feeling as though each step pulled him closer to an abyss. He knew he couldn't keep up the act for much longer. His heart had already chosen, but his reason kept warning him that the ending could be painful. Deep down, he sensed the revelation was closer than he imagined. The afternoon was calm when a luxury car stopped near the sidewalk where Noah often stood. Out stepped an old business partner who recognized him immediately, even in those shabby clothes. The look of shock quickly turned into a mocking laugh. Within seconds, the truth Noah had hidden began to slip out, like a secret too heavy to contain. Chloe was nearby, carrying grocery bags. Hearing Noah's full name shouted in the middle of the street, she froze, confused. The man revealed with scorn that this beggar was actually Adams the millionaire, the owner of the building right across the street. The words struck Chloe's heart like stones. The world seemed to spin, and her breath caught in her chest. The ground disappeared beneath her feet. The memories of simple gestures, of advice and glances, were now stained with the feeling of betrayal. Chloe felt used, as if she had been nothing more than part of a cruel game. Her eyes, once full of tenderness, brimmed with bitter tears. The kindness she had given suddenly felt wasted. Noah tried to step closer, pleading with his eyes. His hands trembled, but words weren't enough. He wanted to explain that his feelings had never been a lie, but Chloe could no longer hear him. The sound of disappointment drowned out every justification. It was as if every gesture he had made was torn from her hands by force. She walked away with hurried steps, her heart torn apart. Noah stood frozen, watching the distance between them grow like an irreversible abyss. The secret that should have brought them closer now tore them apart with violence, and the pain of rejection was crueler than any loneliness he had ever faced before. The days that followed were filled with cutting silence. Noah searched for Chloe on every corner, but she avoided him like someone fleeing from an open wound. The weight of rejection crushed him more than any business failure ever could. The millionaire, now stripped of pride, began to prepare a desperate gesture to win back what he had lost. In front of the hotel where Chloe worked, Noah dropped to his knees for all to see. The crowded street witnessed the once powerful man begging for forgiveness with no luxury cars, no flawless suit, only the raw truth shining in his eyes. His voice trembled, but sincerity tore through the air. It was his soul laid bare before the woman who no longer wanted to listen. Chloe watched from a distance, her heart torn between anger and compassion. The sight pained her, yet also revealed that Noah was no longer the same man. Still, the wound of his deception cut too deep to be forgotten. She turned her face away, as if closing a door to keep her heart from faltering. Noah tried everything, even offering financial help to ease her family's burdens. But Chloe raised her voice firmly, refusing every attempt. She didn't want charity, she didn't want wealth. She wanted respect. She wanted the truth he had hidden from her. Tears streamed down her face, but her decision seemed unshakable. The final silence was devastating. Noah stood in the rain as Chloe disappeared into the crowd. The love that had begun to bloom now seemed condemned, suffocated by the shadow of lies. And yet, he felt he could not give up. Something inside told him there was still one last chance, but it would have to be earned in another way. Time dragged on in silence until Noah made an unexpected decision. He sought out Chloe again, but this time without grand speeches or checks ready to buy redemption. In front of her, he tore to pieces the document that could have solved all her family's financial problems. The gesture offered no money, but it showed he wanted to learn how to live differently. Chloe looked at him with suspicion, her heart still wounded. She asked if he could truly start from nothing with no luxury, no masks, only honesty. Noah answered not with words, but with the firmness in his eyes. Now free of arrogance, he was a man willing to strip himself of everything to earn the right to begin again. The challenge was set, to meet her family. Rosa Rivera, her mother, observed every detail with seasoned eyes. Jaden, her son, held back, guarded by the instinct of a child who had already seen his mother suffer too much. Noah felt as though he were on trial, every gesture weighed, every word measured. There was no wealth that could open those doors. With patience, Noah began to earn small spaces. He helped Rosa with household chores, listened to her stories with respect. With Jaden, he made an effort to play, even clumsily, showing he wanted to be part of something real. The process was slow, filled with cautious glances, but the truth was beginning to find its way through. Chloe watched in silence, trying to understand if she could trust again. Every day with him felt like a test, and little by little, she realized Noah was no longer the same man she had first met on the sidewalk. Still, her heart hesitated. Forgiveness was near, but it would not come without undeniable proof of change. Noah left behind the glittering halls and began to learn the narrow hallways of Chloe's life. He helped with simple household tasks, walked Jaden to school, and shared laughter over modest dinners. He discovered the beauty of waking up early to make coffee, of listening to Rose's old stories, of cherishing the moments that never needed gold to shine. Every sincere gesture drew Noah closer to the family. Jaden, once resistant, began to smile by his side. Rosa, once cautious, began to trust him, realizing that the millionaire had learned how to be human. Slowly, mistrust gave way to quiet acceptance, as if everyone could see that the transformation was real. Chloe's heart, still marked by pain, began to open once more. She no longer saw Noah as a powerful businessman, but as a man willing to learn from a simple life. Every glance between them carried a new weight, not fear, but hope. The flame that had been born on the streets now grew stronger in the warmth of a home. On a humble evening, without luxury or an audience, Noah held Chloe's hands before her mother and son. He proposed not as a millionaire, but as a simple man, offering only his heart and the promise to never hide the truth again. Chloe, with tears in her eyes, said yes, giving back to him the love he had always longed for. Time passed, and Chloe returned to college, chasing old dreams. Noah found peace at her side, finally understanding that true wealth was never locked in vaults, but in sincere embraces. The love they built with simplicity proved that, in the end, the greatest treasure is being loved for who you truly are. And their story was only beginning. This story shows that not all the gold in the world can buy what really matters. It was the simple kindness of a cleaning woman that overcame the loneliness of a millionaire. And have you ever wondered who would stand by your side if everything fell apart? Who would choose you not for what you have, but for who you are? Think about it and let yourself believe that true wealth lies in genuine love. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following moving love stories that can change the way you see life.